Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get started with the meeting. What we'll do is we're going to start with the invocation. Scott will lead us in an invocation. And do we have any veterans in the crowd? All right, what we'll do is you veterans, everyone can stand up, but the veterans will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after the invocation, okay? Please stand.
Knowing that there's a variety of faiths in the room, let's take a moment of silence, and then I'll pray according to my tradition. Heavenly Father, we come before you, Lord, as we count down to Christmas. And Lord, we think of that great message that was given out to the angels, glory to God and peace on earth with men with whom you are pleased. And Father, we thank you for the peace that you have blessed us with, the many blessings that you've given us in St. Charles County. And we pray for peace tonight as we meet and discuss important community issues. We pray for peace in our families, in our businesses. And Father, we think of men and women who are serving our country around the world, and we pray for peace in the areas where they are protecting us. Father, we recognize that you've given us great blessings this season, and we think of the joy for the blessings that you've given. Lord, we know that all good things have come down from the Father of lights, without whom there is any shifting of shadow. And so, Father, as we enter into the season, we thank you for another good year, a year of success and of blessing and of joy. And we pray for your glory, and we pray for your wisdom now for our leaders here and across the community and around the world. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Joe Cronin.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Brazel.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hollander.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Klinghammer.
Here.
Councilmember John White.
Here.
Okay, next we'll move to public comments. We allow 3 speakers pro and 3 speakers con per item and 3 minutes per topic. You can talk about anything on the agenda or anything to do with county business. Can we have our first speaker, please? Let's just, sir, come up first.
Sure, I'll come up and get you all fired up. Good evening, gentlemen, ladies, mayor, or county executive, excuse me. Tony Shepard. I thought I lived in St. Charles. Well, I know I live in St. Charles County, but it's starting to get more and more looking like I live up in St. Louis County. I'm dealing again with an issue from code enforcement. I think I've spec'd my rep up in there, Joe, and I appreciate the work you've done towards it. I've done some investigating, and folks, you do know about it, and I think the executive knows about it. It's kind of fun because I live out on Many Road. It's a private drive. And I got a summons, had some mess on the property. I got a rental house. And they seemed to tag it, trash can out in front of the garage. They'll write a summons, we'll get the renter out there, he'll clean it all up. But it's amazing how just down the street, got an apartment complex with 4 trash cans continually for the last 4 years sitting out in their yard, just about the same place we've got ours. So is it just selective or harassment, or once they get you in their eyeball, you just keep going after it? And after a while, you get kind of tired of it being a resident. Had one on my property out on Many Road. I've spoken to Joe about it before. Well, I guess they mailed me a letter because it says in here you can get it by first-class mail. I never received the first one. I didn't get a notice, I just got a summons. I got a summons on there, went down and picked it up. It's amazing that this one here is identical to the one that I went to court for, pled guilty, and paid my fine. So what I'd like to know out of these folks right here, my elected officials and the county executive, do we have a code enforcement department or neighborhood beautification just likes to send out summons? Is this double jeopardy? Do I need to go back in and pay more money? I asked the court last time, what's it going to take to just get rid of this ticket? The prosecuting attorney gave me a cost, total $250. I said, no problem. He said, that's 2 court costs. I said, no, I'm only in court once. Well, you had a couple of them in there, and I'm going to charge you minimum 2 court costs. Well, the judge up on a bench asked me if I was looking for some big conspiracy. Who's got a guilty conscience on this? Well, I figured out, once looking at the court cost on here, why he wanted to charge me with 2 court costs. And I'm still, for the life of me, trying to figure out why it calls 2 court costs, because not a lot of this goes to the court. Now, he got out of my pocket $4 each time for his retirement. He also got out of my pocket $10 each time that goes into the county treasury. Now, there was $57.50 in court, as they say, costs. Now, that goes to, I'm sorry for the officers behind me, part of their training and their retirement. Goes to a lot of other funding in here. But last I knew, my taxes and everything else paid for that court. Am I correct? So why am I charging? A lot of times there'll be a $10 fine that they're letting everybody loose going through there. It's a $10 fine plus cost. $10 fine plus cost. Well, I can understand the cost. It's out of my revenue. Is it going to take another Senate Bill 5 that I worked on legislation to get it done to come back here and slap you and have you folks do your job and clean up a department that you know you're having problems with? Now I got another problem with it. I'm not going to tolerate it. Through today's social network, well, I'm just a single guy, but I know there's a lot of other people out there with the same complaints.
Thank you, Mr. Shepard.
Thank you very much for listening to me,
All
and I hope you all do have happy holidays.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to complain about neighborhood preservation? Okay, moving on. Is there anybody else who'd like to talk about anything else? Ma'am, you were up next.
Good evening. How are you all this evening? We're almost for Christmas. I hope everybody's getting ready. I wanted to come here again tonight to represent my opposition for the Bill 4293 for that conditional use permit. I do appreciate that you put in the extra 2 conditions for the fencing behind 3 of the residents, doesn't address mine, and made the 9 o'clock, they have to shut down time, but it doesn't say what days. Are they going to work on the weekends as well? We still don't have a lot of answers. Who's going to maintain the property if they put up a fence? Because these folks already have a fence. Who's going to maintain cutting those weeds, the grass? Still the water issue. I read the conditional use permit as you asked me to do. It doesn't really go into any great detail about the water issue. So I'd still like to have those things really addressed in more detail so we have an idea of what we're looking, forward to when he does, or if you go in from, let him have the grounds for his used car, truck, and sales lot, even though we have a dealership on the corner, Chrysler and Dodge dealership, and we have 6 mortar and brick and mortar shops that go in and out on a 90-day, 6-month cycle. One's in, one's out, one's in, one's out. And I just feel this is going to be another one of those things. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to talk about the used car lot proposal? Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, do we have anybody in favor of the used car proposal? Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, I guess they're here tonight. We showed up, though, because we want to make sure that everybody is solid and feels good about what's getting ready to happen. I appreciate the new conditions. I think 9 o'clock's too late, considering there's children trying to go to school the next day, 500 feet from this business, but I don't know if there's anything that I can do about 9 o'clock. I'm thinking 8 o'clock. What worries me the most is, or some of the questions that I have the most is, if he's going to put in, he did say 60 cars, because I looked at the YouTube, and the owner said, or whoever that representative said 60 cars. The conditional use says 40 cars. I want to know, how do you guys make sure it's 40 cars? I still think that's too many. It's only 30 cars?
I think so. We're going to go over all this, so
Okay.
we have that, the plan and zoning.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. Does he have easement on that MoDOT, that huge piece of MoDOT that's cut out of the middle of that? If he doesn't have easement to it, where is the entrance is going to be? Because that was the entrance to the existing the old gas station, right? So where is, you can't have that entrance coming out onto our one entrance into our subdivision. That's highly dangerous for ambulances and things like that. So I guess, I've been up here, you guys kind of know what's going on. We had a petition. We got like 80 names in our neighborhood, wanting some more answers regarding this before you guys make any kind of decisions. And like Laura said, we want more specifics. I want to know, are you guys going to make sure all these plans happen? Just because this guy says this, does it mean it's going to happen, or does he just go willy-nilly? This is the first time I've ever experienced this in my life, so I really don't know how it works. So when things are agreed upon, I have to make sure they stay the way that we have approved them. That's my concerns. Thank you
you.
for listening.
Is there anybody, one more time, that would like to speak in favor of Bill 4293? Seeing none, is there anybody else who'd like to speak against Bill 4293? Yes, ma'am.
Shelley and Laura addressed a lot of my concerns, but I am really interested in wanting to know about the water situation, because it's directly behind my house and where the water runoff is going to be, because it being on a hill, I'm thinking it's all going to come in my backyard, and I'm really concerned about how are they going to do the runoff, where is this water going to go, and the entrance too also. Where is that going to be, if it's going to go towards our subdivision? Because we only have one way in and out. That's a major concern for us. And the fences, it's only behind 3 houses, and there's going to be a space in between there, correct, from our own fence. I want to know how much of a space that is, because right now, St. Charles County, I had called them about the weeds back there being out of control, and no one has taken care of it. They said, tell me the address and we'll have it taken care of, and it has not. So if they build a fence in between there, who's going to maintain the property in between there? I don't want all that weeds and mess coming back into my yard again. So that's a major issue for me, that and the water. I want to know how they're going to fix that. I don't want it all running into my backyard.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes Bill 4290, or 4293. Is there anybody who'd like to talk to council on any other issues? Could we have the first speaker, who I'm sorry, who? Yeah. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yeah, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Mike Intravia, and I'm a resident at 45 Windcastle. Before I make my presentation, I would like to ask the council to consider tabling this issue, these 2 bills tonight. And I'd like to ask Mr. Goss if he would be willing to meet with a committee that we're creating in our development. We understand, and we've heard rumor that there's a solution that he's come up with that he's going to present tonight. Quite frankly, we don't know anything about this solution other than some minimal facts or minimal thoughts on it. But anyway, nonetheless, we recognize that we've narrowed this down to this. We know what the issue is now, and we think it would be better served for us to get together with them and discuss what his solution is. And we have a solution too we'd like to propose to them and see if we can work it out. So I'd like to start off by proposing that.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the bill 4291 or 4292?
I am Mac Swindle. I live at 41 65 Fairdale Lane, which is in the middle of this development. And I've lived there for 28 years now, so I know the area pretty thoroughly. And 2 weeks ago was the first time I'd ever attended a church council meeting. And I was impressed with you guys trying to be fair and going out of your way to accommodate people beyond what I would consider normal. I appreciate the chairman calling Frank Tocco to the speaker and letting him express himself beyond his normal procedure of doing so. And I commend you for trying to satisfy everybody. May the Lord bless you. So I'd like to speak about House Bill 4291, the rezoning. It seems to me that in doing so, you make it the same as Plat 1 or Plat 2 in Windcastle, property adjacent to it. I don't see how anyone complained about the rezoning. It seems to be fair to everybody, and it's just a simple process to approve that rezoning. And then the other bill involving the plat, the preliminary plat, there are several reasons I'd like to give you for approval of that plat. The streets in Windcastle are public streets. Fairdale Lane is a public street. Schaefer Holdings has the ground in between those two. They could easily put the road through there and benefit the county with another road. By having it open through both areas, it would benefit the police department, the fire department, emergency EMS vehicles, school buses, and anybody that desired to travel that road. I say it's the best interest of St. Charles County to get the additional road at no additional cost. And it will save time and money for all of us. Over 60% of the homes in Windcastle are built on cul-de-sacs. I would not expect them to receive any more traffic than what they're presently receiving. Allowing this road provides a thoroughfare that would save each one of us 3 miles one-way trip around the gate.
Mr. Swindle, time's up.
Okay. So may the Lord bless you, and I hope that you have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. Is there any speakers who would like to speak opposed to Bill 4291?
Excuse me, but did I burn up my time when I asked for it to be tabled?
We allow 3 speakers per, but I will call on you. If you're the spokesman for the subdivision, I'll call on you if we have any questions during the ordinance when we
Okay.
pull it up.
Okay. I thought I was just asking for a procedural before I made my presentation. I apologize for that. I didn't realize that I was burning up my speaking time. So.
I'll call on you when the ordinance comes up, like, since you're their spokesperson. Come on, sir.
Can I use a
Yes, go ahead and set it on
overhead
there.
here as I talk? All right. All right, good evening. My name is Chris Kaplinger, and I live at 34 Windcastle Drive with my wife Linda and my 2 daughters. As you heard my neighbor, well, Mike Intravia, speak a minute ago, where I was going to go after him, so this is going to kind of flow a little bit better. But, you know, we're speaking against this issue that was rejected by the Planning and Zoning a few months ago and is now in the hands of you, the County Council. This would all be a non-issue for the Windcastle residents I have spoken to if this national builder that you're going to hear tonight was not willing to greatly impact our St. Charles County neighborhood by cutting through it to build their homes. I really don't understand why they would spend their time and money to battle us on this issue when it would just go away if they had simply accessed the development through Fairdale via 2 very direct roads. They're completely straight. So I have a unique perspective on the issue tonight as I live on the very long corner on Windcastle Drive. So you can see here, and I'm just going to kind of point, you pull in here and you drive down, I'm right there. When people come into our neighborhood, that is exactly the direction they come and go. It's just a natural flow, and it's the way everybody goes. There's only one way in and out of Windcastle, and that route is Windcastle Drive. Windcastle Plat 1 was a planned urban development and was engineered for Plat 1 and 2, and it wasn't engineered for anything more than that. Living on this turn, I really can't imagine our neighborhood was meant to be significantly larger, and worse yet, a thoroughfare for hundreds of homes to the north and to the east. I really do love Windcastle. I'm an avid biker and runner. I enjoy using our streets for morning and evening runs where there is no sidewalk. I share the streets with cars, walkers, bike riders, and the school buses that come through there now. I see them every morning. My heart sank when I heard that there was a possibility of significantly more traffic, knowing the blind curves were already sending me into the grass during busy times. I've attended every planning and zoning meeting regarding the issue and was at this county council meeting last month. I was at the meeting with the builder, with this national builder, hoping they would consider the impact and propose some ideas for reducing the impact. They never did. Now, I have heard that they're going to do that tonight, but really not giving us much of a chance because we haven't heard these yet, which is, again, why I would second and, really like to see this tabled to another time. I'm not a traffic engineer, but I can tell you some very simple and common sense calculations. The amount of traffic on my street would see an increase that would be a major negative impact to the homes in Windcastle. So just real quick here, if you look here, and I have more of these I can share with you. You can't see this very well here, but if you estimate the trips, this is just trips per day, so you really have to double this. If you cut through Windcastle to get to this new neighborhood, that's 998. The estimated trips for Fairdale, if you cut through there and didn't come through our neighborhood, 579. So even looking at that right there, it doesn't make sense why they come through our neighborhood when there could be a much less impact going through the other way. So, and this doesn't even really consider the construction traffic that would be added to these numbers, the deliveries and everything else. So I understand that traffic must go through somewhere, and as a business owner, I'm all for progress. I also believe allowing new homes to be built is good for St. Charles County, but it just doesn't make sense to me that all this through our winding streets when there's an option for a direct route. So just to finalize, I want to say I appreciate the time of everyone tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I believe if you drove through our neighborhood or even stopped for a visit, you'd see that this is not the best option for Windcastle or the County of St. Charles, and I'm just asking you to please side with us and with planning and zoning and vote no to the rezoning of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other speakers who would like to speak in favor of Bill 4291?
Good evening, Council, Chairman, County Executive. My name is Lee Cannon. I've spoken to you before. I'm a professional engineer and professional traffic operations engineer with CBB. My office address is 12,400 Olive Boulevard, Suite 430, 63141. I personally prepared the traffic impact study, traffic access report that you have dated November 18th, 2015 for the development. We were asked to look at several issues, including capacity, safety, and one that I added, character of the road. And I testified on this issue to you last time I was here. But really, the traffic flows with 78 homes are relatively low on that on all the two-lane streets within the development. Could I have this come up on the thing here? And with additional 36 homes, the traffic volumes are going to increase by about 50% over where they are today. We're looking at about 1,100 cars a day. That road's capacity is 8,000 to 10,000 cars a day from a capacity perspective. From a character perspective, though, and the residents that live on it, for the enjoyment of your front yard and your porch and having kids out and feeling safe, traffic engineers generally agree that the road needs to carry below 2,000 to 2,500 cars a day. And so we're half of that, plus or minus, on that character scale of how does it feel? You know, what's the character of the road? As far as safety goes, safety issues on roadways, if the road's unsafe for one car, it's unsafe for all the cars, or vice versa. So if there's safety issues and those roads don't meet the county standards, they need to be addressed immediately, because you have a liability. I don't believe that you do. I looked at the roads, and I think that they're designed to county standards, and they're safe. There has been a proposed change by the developer to address some of the concerns brought up by the residents, and that is working through the Cottleville Fire Protection District and the county staff. A slight revision to the plan was provided such that the road to Fairdale would not connect at the very end with a small outlot strip of land. There would be a grass paved connection provided for emergency service vehicles and a gate. The developer respectfully requests that with the gate that they still are allowed to have a public street on their side within their development. That would have all of the proposed additional home traffic go to the existing streets of Windcastle, again, as documented in the traffic study, not beyond the capacity or character limits or any safety issues. However, there wouldn't be vehicular traffic across the break. That would be a temporary interim condition that could be maintained in perpetuity, or if the county and the residents work together, that could be something that was handed over to the county, and the road could be connected in the future, the gate could be taken out, whatever really everybody decides is the right thing to do in the future. And I will close with that, indicating that the development here is connected via a paper street to plats 1 and 2. Those roads were laid out with the potential for access to this property, because you can't landlock a property. I'd be happy to answer any questions on specifics and details about the revised plan or my traffic impact study during your deliberations.
All right, thank you, sir. Could we have another speaker that's opposed to Bill 4291?
Good evening. My name is Lorna Fromm, and I live at 26 Windcastle Drive with my husband, Craig. We moved there in 1999. We raised 2 children there, and our 6-month-old granddaughter is here visiting from Chicago, and so it's hard that I come here and leave her home alone with my husband tonight. But I'm happy to get back there quickly. I have 2 issues. Rezoning, I'm going to forego the rezoning based on the little bit of time we have. I'm still very concerned about the rezoning, because once you let the cat out of the bag and this is rezoned R1B, guess what could happen then? Then 73 cluster homes could be built there. There's not a darn thing anybody could do about it. It would go to P&Z staff, and they would have to, if all the P's and Q's were dotted and I's dotted, it would have to be that way. That would add even more traffic that would come through. But what I want to talk about is, rezoning. You send out notices to anybody who lives within 1,000 feet of the proposed rezoning. That tells me you want to listen to us. There's a human element to rezoning. If it was just a matter of looking at your ordinances and people coming up here with preliminary plats, then you wouldn't need us to come here. But you offer us the opportunity to come and talk to you. Otherwise, you could just put it all through a computer like Watson on Jeopardy, and it would come out with an answer in the form of a question. So we're here tonight to tell you rezoning does have an impact on property owners. And in our situation, the rezoning is going to have a negative impact on plats 1 and 2. Brad Goss called me Wednesday night and said he'd come up with a solution about gating Fairdale. I said, please call Bev Ruff. She's the president of our homeowners association. Let's have a meeting and talk about it. We haven't had an opportunity to do that. We've all come up here and said, please, we want to work with them. We are not NIMBYs. We are not people who say not in our backyard. If anytime there's trees in your backyard, you have to pretty much count on there's a chance for development. So we understand that. But what we want is to preserve what we have, a beautiful, tranquil neighborhood. It only makes sense if this new solution, which was not a solution when you were all here on December 7th, if you could put a gate at the end of Fairdale, and it's still a public street, why couldn't you put a gate at the end of Plat 2? and have the traffic come in on in a street that is straight, and have Fairdale and Plat 3 be a development, and have Plats 1 and 2 be a development as it is now. If this, we've not heard. We can't wait to hear what Brad has to say tonight, but we'd like the opportunity to meet with him and try to find out what we can do. Who are we? I told you we're not NIMBYs, we're not against development. We are people who live here. My next door neighbor put the cabinets in our house. My son's doctor's back here. One time I had a dental emergency. My dentist was out of town. One of my neighbors helped me fix a tooth on Saturday morning. We are business owners. We've worked hard. We are not rich people who have just, we clip manufacturers' coupons, not bond coupons. Mr. Klinghammer will understand the nature of that. We are just normal people who've worked hard, and we want to preserve our neighborhood. That's who we are. We are residents of Windcastle, and we really would like your support. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We have our final speaker in favor of Bill 4291.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Brad Goss, and I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant. My address is 1475 Fairgrounds Road in St. Charles. As to the rezoning, I just want to briefly touch on that. The image doesn't show up terribly well, but we did talk about last week that all the developed property around in this area is developed with an R1B zoning classification or something more intense. Windcastle Plat 2 is an R1B zoning. We are proposing to rezone this property to exactly the same classification that currently exists for Windcastle Plat 2. So we believe that the rezoning is certainly appropriate in light of what we have surrounding us and in light of the development pattern in the area, and the staff has certainly agreed with that. With respect to the connection of Fairdale, we think that has been really the issue that has been of the greatest concern of the Windcastle residents. And this council certainly directed us to go and try and find alternatives at the last meeting. And we have proposed an alternative that provides for no connection of Fairdale Lane and Fairdale subdivision with Fairdale Lane where it terminates in the bluffs at Windcastle. We'll create a strip of ground that will be an outlot. This outlot will be subject to restrictions that will require a gate to be placed in that outlot. The gate meets the Cottleville Fire Protection District requirements. That gate has been approved, and this plan has been approved by the Cottleville Fire Protection District. I did submit that to the Assistant Chief, Mark Bailey, and he confirmed that that plan will be acceptable. This gate will allow any emergency vehicles, law enforcement vehicles, county, Cottleville Fire Protection District, any other kind of mutual aid districts to go back and forth in any kind of emergency to provide for public safety needs. We will also provide for a berm on either side of the gate so the traffic can't drive around the gate. We're imposing upon the property a declaration of covenants, which your council has reviewed and has made some comments on, which we responded to and made changes as he requested us to do so. What this declaration does is it will go on the property prior to the recordation of the record plat, and it will impose upon this property the requirement that the gate remain in perpetuity until such time as St. Charles County would choose to remove it and add this to the public right-of-way. So this will be something that remains restricted access. The only parties who would have access would be government agencies, government officials, as far as ingress and egress is concerned. We think that what this does is meets the concerns and objections that have been raised by the Windcastle residents. We think it is appropriate in light of the differences between Fairdale Lane, which is developed with a series of non-conforming lots. It is not conforming to the zoning that it has, and certainly a different character of housing than what you would have in Windcastle, and the development that we're proposing, which is different than Fairdale Lane. So we think this is a good solution, and we'd hope that you would support it. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other speakers speak about any other county business? Excuse me. Bless you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate and resident. As we look towards 2016, we need to stop the continual secrets in county government. My question to the county council is, why do you allow secrets in our county government? On Tuesday, the first day of filing for public offices at the local level, I made an election request, a simple request, the first day filers in subdistricts 2, 4, and 6. There are some very deep concerns about ethics and questions about the lottery that was held. No response as of 6 p.m. this evening in violation of Chapter 610, the Open Records Act. The law states that I can make it in verbally or in writing. I chose to do it in writing at the election authority with Ms. Todd, the manager of elections. They have no form, which is not in compliance and is in violation of state statute. To this date, I have heard no response from Director Krismer, Manager Todd, or County Councilor Hefner in reference to my request. In reference to another request that I go back and forth with the county executive's office, Mr. Dorman, finally, the acting county councilor, responded to my request as of Friday. I made a simple request, the same request made by many of you on the council about a month ago to the county executive, in which he was very perturbed about you not getting the information that you asked for in the first place. And that was a capital improvement park plan, a plan of improvement of parklands currently in reserve or undeveloped, a cost analysis, and a real genuine plan, a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year, and a 10-year plan. We have a right to know. I was not asking for any closed documents about the New Melly Lakes property owned by Mr. Vatterat. I'm talking about current parklands and a solid plan. I still haven't been met with that request. It should be a matter of public record. On your agenda tonight is Bill number 4299, which is very concerning. It deals with the hiring of lobbyists. There was no debate and no questions, just rubber stamping of this county council to this bill on the request of the county executive. Vicki Husselman, who works for the county executive and gets a $60,000 salary plus 20% in benefits and pension, states with the Missouri Ethics Commission, Commission number L002862, I lobby only in the executive branch of state government, and I lobby in the Missouri General Assembly. So already paying somebody to lobby on behalf of our county, but yet you in this bill, want to spend $151,000 to hire more lobbyists. We have 2 assistant director of administrations. One makes $107,000 plus benefits and a pension. The one to her right makes $117,000 plus a pension and benefits. The director of administration makes $167,000 plus pension and benefits, and the county executive $117,000 plus. These were 2014 figures. We have a director of transportation, an assistant director, and a county engineer. These people can go to Jeff City and do the lobbying for us. It's a waste of taxpayer money. I'd rather see that spent in law enforcement, helping the welfare and safety of our citizens. Vote no on the bill. It's ridiculous.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the county council on any other county business? Sir, I'll have you come up when yeah. Okay, that closes out public comments. Moving on to the oral report from the county executive.
No
Steve.
report, Mr. Chairman. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got Corey.
Yeah, you do. Corey's gonna make a report on the jail, the future of the jail.
I think you each got a packet up there.
Yes.
This is the master plan from the corrections renovation we have going on. I just want to start out, this project originally started out as addressing 3 areas of concern. I was going to wait until I get this little part done, then I'll put the budget up there. 3 areas of concern, the medical, central control, and booking. It was realized very early that we needed to do a full master plan of the entire building. Master plan is going to give us the ability to either extend the life of this facility or to verify it's cost effective compared to the cost of a new facility. Chiodini Architects was contracted for the first phase in the master plan. Under them, Larry Goldberg of Goldberg Group Associates helped develop this master plan. Larry himself specializes in corrections facilities, both new construction and renovations. One of the first things he mentioned to us was that jails age at a rate of 4 to 5 times faster than a typical facility. And that's for 3 main reasons. 1, the abusive environment that they're in, the inmates that live in them. 2 is they're open and used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which isn't typical for a normal building. And then 3, all systems, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing within a building like this are buried for inaccessibility due to inmates, which gives us restrictions on maintenance. They still try to maintain the building, but it's limited based on those restrictions. This jail is currently roughly 30 years old. It has grown from a facility that was just the third floor to incorporate all floors of this building. So this jail has grown quite a bit. With this growth, one of the main issues we're going to address is the lack of growth in the secondary or the supporting facilities to the increased inmate population, whether that be their rec space, the kitchen, medical space, booking. All those areas need to grow to match that inmate growth. Larry Goldberg performed a quick ACA audit, which is at American Correctional Association. He just addressed a few standards that we need to try to bring up to compliance with. Just some standards that aren't going to be grandfathered in, and when we do this renovation, those standards are all met within this renovation. This master plan process did work exactly as we had hoped it to. We've identified several phases that have emerged and touched on multiple operational, technical, and security issues. With these 8 phases, we've been able to put together a rough budget totaling $13 million for all 8 phases. That will allow us to extend the life of this building for the next 20 to 25 years, and it eliminates the needs for purchasing any land and building a new facility in the near future. This renovation leaves us with, the pre-renovation inmate capacity is roughly 506 inmates within the secure area. This renovation will leave us with around 600 inmates within the secure area. So we've drastically increased that. New facility of this capacity would be roughly around $40 to $50 million in the ballpark range. So just kind of give you an idea of what we're comparing to. And this process did involve multiple meetings with the corrections staff, the architect, and myself. So this is not something that we put together ourselves. This is something we put together with help from corrections. They've all had input in it and have all kind of tied in or bought into it, agreed to it. Now you're going to see the budget. The main budget here is broken down into 8 color-coded phases. On the top, we've clustered 2 of those phases together for this first project, which will take place in 2016, wrapping up in 2017. That addresses 2 of the 3 original main concerns, and we can have an alternate for the third line there, or the red line there, which is to be the third phase for the last main concern if the budget allows. I'm going to walk through each of these 8 phases if you guys would like to kind of give you guys a brief run through. You've got floor plans there for the first, second, third, and 5th floor of this building. The 4th floor of the building is technically there, but there is no floor plan for it. There's no elevator stop. It's just the second tier of some of the 2-tiered cell areas. It's some of the mechanical space, so it's not technically a 4th floor. You can get off on the elevator. That's why there's no floor plan. And the last floor plan is the existing 3rd floor pre-renovation for you guys to flip back to if you need to see where the changes have been made. Here you'll see the phases are color-coded on the plan to match the budget. First one, phase 1, the green one. This incorporates the new medical facility, a new muster room, and renovations and reopening an existing outdoor recreation space that is currently closed. The benefit of this jail that we currently have is there is open space here where there is an old work release. Not the work release that's currently open, but one previous to that. It's a work release / library not in use. So we can start this construction without shutting anything down. And there's only 3 doors into the secure space. We can leave those 3 doors sealed to the end. So we can actually do this construction from outside the secure space, kind of give us a chance to get our feet wet on this project without dealing with all the coordination needed for the secure area. Medical is going to move from across the hall. It's going to expand to give them more exam rooms. The muster is going to give the correction staff a chance to get in a muster room from the lobby of the current jail. This will keep them from going into the secure space before they get into the muster room. This gives them a chance to put their duffel bags, everything in their lockers, contraband being cell phones, anything in the lockers, so they're not bringing contraband in, just as like we don't like the inmates to bring contraband in. And then obviously that extra outdoor rec space, which we can touch on later, but that is key in this, one of these areas we need to talk about. Moving on to phase 2, the yellow. As you'll notice, there's yellow dots all throughout this plan on all the floors. This yellow is touching on control room remodels and the control room upgrade. Central control right here in the center of the 3rd floor is the heart of the building. This central control is going to be the one we do the remodel on. There is old existing equipment and they're not being used, taking up a large portion of that floor space. So we're going to pull that out, remodel that, make it more ergonomic and friendly for the corrections officers who are in there. There's 2 corrections officers in there all the time. The rest of the control rooms are just the outposts, one at each unit, and we're going to upgrade the technology so they can communicate with one another, and so that the people within the control center will know at what time which corrections officer has opened what door, and it keeps a log of that, kind of bring our controls up to date, since most of the controls are 30-something years old.
Corey, is this project going to be done, and is it bid as one project and you're doing it in phases just to keep the jail in operation?
No. The way this is we wanted to bid the first 2 with an alternate for 3 based on our budget allows to keep us under that $2 million range, and that's to hit those 3 key topic areas that was the main concern. The other phases can be done anytime in the future, just as budget allows, but we wanted to get a plan of everything so we didn't step on our foot in the future trying to redo construction we've already done.
Does it make sense to bid it out as one, is it a money problem why we don't bid it out as one project?
I would assume so, since it's close to $13 million for all 8 phases.
Does this have to be done prior to the emergency shelter, the new emergency center or does this have anything to do with it, Joanne, or?
This does not. We have currently, we had $1.5 million in the 14 budget, as I remember. This was something that started to emerge in 11 and 12. And we rolled that over into this year. We actually have a little bit more than that, almost $2 million in the 15 budget, or the 16 budget that you're going to approve. And it's to do phases 1, 2, and hopefully to be able to get to the red phase, which is the visitation piece. The rest of it can be done as we need more beds, as we need more capacity in other support areas. So it wasn't all done, as Corey said, with the idea that it needed to be done immediately. It was done to plan out, because after 30 years, this building's really seeing some wear and tear, both from the fact that it is a 24-hour building, but also because the capacity right now is so much greater than was originally planned for, to try to maintain this building in place downtown across the street from the courts for a very long period of time if we have additional inmate needs or that type of thing. This allows for us to be able to have in place, to know what we would do to address those things.
I understand. Corey, is this going out to bid right away, like January, is it the plan?
We've got a architect on contract to draw the documents for phase 1. Well, we're calling it phase 1. It's actually 1, 2 with an alternate of 3. So we can put those out there and then put that out for bid with a contractor.
Councilman, if you remember, you guys awarded that bid, and part of that was the master planning document,
That's just the architect, though, right?
That was the architect.
But what I'm saying is, you're bidding this relatively soon, and this is a 2016 project?
Oh, yeah, 2016 project,
Yeah.
but I mean, we still have to draw the
Okay.
plans. We got 6 to 8 months to draw the plans before we can bid it.
Okay, Joe?
I heard you right. Current capacity is around 500.
506 in the secure area.
And Mr. Crawford's there. How many people in the jail right now, roughly? Are you at 80% capacity, or you at?
It goes down. We're at our lowest point, but it's 330. We're at 330 right now.
Okay. And the point I'm trying to make is increasing it to 600 is not going to hold this county for 20, 25 years, okay? Let's face it, the county's growing and people aren't behaving as nicely as they should have been, okay? That being said, I mean, rather than spending almost $13 million on this facility that is old, has there any consideration of having a western facility out near where the sheriff's department or the police department is, and where the new emergency communication building would be? And maybe, I understand that you need to be close to the courts, but when someone gets 90 days in a county jail, you sure could have a long-term detention system out there. I mean, just an idea, because spending $13 million on this is not going to take care of us for 20 or 25 years. So I don't know if that's ever been addressed or not.
Steve? You
can put it somewhere else in the county. It might be more convenient for the inmates or for the people who want to visit them, but would just create tremendous cost on moving prisoners back and forth. When I took office, my predecessor told me, he thought this was 9 years ago, that we were going to have to build a new jail, start working on it then and there. Larry may know why, but I mean, all of a sudden incarceration rates just started to go down about 9 years ago. If he knows why, he can tell us, but the fact is, when I first came here, we were at capacity almost all the time. The other thing, I'm not sure we know exactly how many cells we're going to need because, as you all know, there's more and more electronic monitoring being used. And, Larry may know more about, I'm sure he knows more about that than I do, but that's one of the reasons we don't do the work release anymore, because it's easier just to put an ankle bracelet on somebody or a GPS and keep track of where they are rather than actually incarcerate them. And Larry, if you want to add something to that?
There is our.
Go ahead, go to the mic.
Thank you. I understand the concerns, and I guess I would say it's hard to predict, I think, as a business person and beyond 10 or 15 years. It's really, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, hard to predict past then. The master plan does extend the life of the jail a long time, and who knows how St. Charles County will really grow. But actually, our inmate population, this will be the 3rd year that it's went down, our average population. We can't predict how crime is going to go. It depends on how effective your police force is, but actually a lot of jail capacity and prison, I learned there, is actually by how quickly the courts can process the cases. It's more than just the crimes. So there's a lot of ways to manage population, and I represented to the county exec that at least in the near future, I just can't hardly see looking beyond 10 years, but I don't see maybe needing to expand the capacity of the jail. However, as he mentioned, the electronic monitoring, we may need more maximum security space. We may need more geriatric space or special needs medical. That's the things that are driving the difference in jails and prisons now, some of the high needs population. But, I'm not real concerned about needing to double the size of the jail like we have a couple times.
Okay, so 600 should take care of you for a lot more years than if we get to that capacity.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, that's good.
And the way this is built, you'll see in the red lines, we go into attorney visit rooms and first and fifth floor modifications. When I get to that phase, a lot of that is video arraignment rooms to make this process more efficiently. You'll notice that the phases that add more beds aren't to the very bottom of the list. It's more addressing our current issues with our current jail and trying to make everything more efficient within the jail before we start expanding it.
What was the amount you said it would probably cost to build a new facility?
The Goldberg Group quoted us a number just at the 600 capacity. He said the $40 to $50 million range based on projects he currently has going on.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you shared that with us, because when I first saw this, I kind of had sticker shock.
Yeah.
The amount that was shown on there, but now I realize it's going to be done over phases over a number of years.
Yes, the first phase, we only show 2.3 million, and I do have some contingency built in there since this is a 30-year-old jail. We're expecting when we open up walls to find plumbing issues, electrical, mechanical. We know there's plumbing issues within the jail. Obviously, they've had some major leaks, so we've built some budget numbers just for ourselves in there in case we run into those issues. But yeah, that 2.3 million is what we've predicted for the next 2 years to spend on this master plan. So we're not looking to spend 13 million by 2017.
Thank you.
Were you involved in putting this color code program together on the phases?
The color code?
Yeah.
That was put together by Goldberg Group, which colors they
No,
chose?
it's good. I like it. It's very self-explanatory. You don't need to go through every phase because I think, I think you don't want to go through all phases.
No.
The only thing I would like to touch on, if I don't go through all the phases, is a third phase, the red. If you take a brief look in there, all the red dots, there is attorney visit rooms and there's video kiosk within each unit to kind of increase that efficiency. So that is our goal in the first phase, is to kind of increase our efficiency and make everything more cost effective. But if you guys have any questions about the plan overall, I feel free to ask them.
Very good, Corey.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, is that it, Steve? Yes, sir. Okay, moving on. The consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. I need to remove the airport from the miscellaneous portion of the consent agenda. Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any other items?
Motion for approval of the remaining portion.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, Joe?
On the airport airport issue, there's no issues at all, except there are two new exhibits, Exhibit A1 and A2, which refer to St. Charles County Flying Services lease. That flying service is pretty critical to the airport out there. It's where people can learn how to fly, and the airport's doing well. So I would recommend that we study the exhibits and approve the airport lease. I'll make a motion to review the exhibits and approve the airport lease, but I may defer to council.
To approve the lease with the exhibits attached.
Yes, to approve the lease with the exhibits attached.
So we apologize for the omission. The exhibits were left out of the council packet, so we just wanted to make clear that it's being approved with the exhibits.
Second, someone?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda has been approved as offered. Moving on to bills for final passage. 4290, the budget.
Bill number 4290, an ordinance adopting and appropriating the fiscal year 2016 budget for St. Charles County.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4290? Are there any amendments, Greg, or not to this?
There is a substitute bill that you should have gotten.
On some of the items that were?
Right,
Okay.
and there was a memo that I sent you all.
Chairman, I move to amend Bill number 4290 with substitute Bill 4290. Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any questions on substitute Bill 4290?
This includes the Port Authority, correct?
Yes, you want to talk about that, Mike or Joe or someone?
I don't know anything about it, but I'd like to hear what the administration knows
Well,
about it.
let Mike
So
lead,
Mike
'cause he
as well.
started- It's his project.
So this is one of my things that I want to look at. So a couple of years ago, I ran into some folks who were talking about the benefits of having a port authority in your county. So the port authority is run by the county. The county executive appoints all the members of the port authority. And it turns out that we have more river frontage as a county than any other county in the state of Missouri. We are also the largest county in the state of Missouri that does not currently have a port authority. So I've talked to the folks at MoDOT who manage port authorities and kind of finding out what's going on there in terms of possibilities. We've met with Mary Lamy, who's the executive director of the Freight District, talked to the director of the airport to see what they're doing. They have 2,500 acres of space at the airport that they are looking at developing with freight storage and USDA compliance. Believe it or not, Asia wants our hogs, so there you go. Being from Arkansas, I like shipping hogs. That's a good thing. So there's a lot of possibilities as to what a freight district can do from an economic development standpoint for our county. There's even things that we can do from a tourism standpoint. I know Joe's interested in looking at doing a ferry study from St. Louis County into St. Charles County. There's a number of different things that are possible, but what's the best use of a freight district? And that's the purpose of, we put some money in here to do a freight district study to find out the...
A port authority
study. I'm sorry, a port authority study to find out, is it better to do freight? Is it better to do tourism? Is it better to do what? And if we do develop a port authority, where's the best place to develop that? Most people might remember we used to have a port authority, if you remember Darby's Ditch. So it was established back in 1973. Darby's Ditch was a no-go for whatever reason, and affectionately known that way, by the way, sorry. But for whatever reason, the Port Authority kind of languished with no real fostering of that, and it died off in 1998. It was disbanded officially. So we have not had a Port Authority in this county for the last 17 years. So we're trying to look at this, and I've talked to the county executive and staff about this for a while. Gary Elmstead's been a great help. He's written a white paper about it and looking at past studies that's been done. So there are a lot of folks who are very positive about what a port authority could do for our county. This is really just looking at making sure that if we do this, we do it the right way. Sorry, that was a long explanation for what you were looking for.
Some of the other benefits that we talked about is giving you more control over your river banks and that kind of thing without other intrusion from other government agencies, and also federal funding, which is huge. And I think that's what Mike you know, I think that's important. If we can get, if we got a Port Authority, then we can ask for federal funding on it.
And it's good for economic development programs up to a mile away from the riverfront. So you can be a mile inland, which would take you past Fifth Street, by the way, for all kinds of different economic development projects that we might be able to do. So there's a lot of possibilities, which is why that funding's in there.
The Corps of Engineers owns all the ground up along the river. I know because I own ground along the river. But my question, I guess, I saw Don.
Well, this is
sticking
Missouri
with it.
River too, though.
Okay. I saw Don, you've done this, Don, I'm sure you were probably, involved with this in the past. You think this is something that's worthwhile starting up again?
Mr. Cronin, I was a member of the St. Charles Committee for an RCGA funded group here in St. Charles County in the 90s, and we looked at it then. It wasn't feasible then, but certainly that was a long time ago, and I think you ought to take another look at it.
Okay, good.
Okay, any other questions on the substitute bill? Okay, all right.
Substitute Bill Number 4290, an ordinance adopting and appropriating the fiscal year 2016 budget for St. Charles County, Missouri. Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Bill 4290 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4291.
Bill number 4291, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from R1A Single Family Residential District 1 acre minimum lot size to R1B Single Family Residential District 20,000 square foot minimum lot size as per application RZ 15-00000015.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4291?
We can have discussion.
Yes, we're going to have discussion. We do have a substitute bill.
That's for 4292.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. Okay, well then, it's all the same really, but I mean, I understand what you're saying. Does anybody want to talk about, well, 4291 and 4292 are the same topic. So do you want to just go to the next 4292? John, or?
Well, I'd like to, I know the people from Wincastle had some questions, and I'd like the representative to come up now and ask those questions. Who
That's Mike.
spokesman?
He has a presentation he said he wanted to make.
Mike, come on up.
Again, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I was just doing something that was more protocol rather than my presentation. Okay. So I promise you I have a 3-minute presentation. I practiced it about 20 times to try and get it down.
There's no time right now.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
Maybe we shouldn't have said that.
So, but I'll still try to honor that 3 minutes as best I can here. The first thing I'd like to start off with before I go into my presentation is the traffic engineer that was up here. You've probably seen everybody cringe in their seats when he said that our subdivision could handle 10,000 cars a day, and but maybe 2,500 cars. Well, what I don't know if you've been in our subdivision, but the first thing I want you to understand is we have one street that comes in and basically goes down around this sharp turn and goes back to feed where this new development would be. So all the traffic except for a few homes off on this little side street, everything comes down that street. Now I'm going to tell you that I went out and I measured the width of my street the other night. Took me 10 minutes to measure my street. And the reason was, every time I put the tape measure down, car would come flying around the corner and I'd have to run back to my yard to keep from getting hit. After about the 5th time, I found out that our street is 25.5 foot wide. So, I just proposed to you, try to imagine 10,000 cars. I just jotted this down. 10 hours a day, that would be 1,000 cars an hour driving in front of my house. And for 20 hours a day, and traffic doesn't flow 20 hours a day, that would still be 500 cars an hour. Could you imagine, I don't know if any of you have streets that are 25 foot wide. It's just a quaint little subdivision, no sidewalks. Everybody walks, the kids ride their bikes. Could you imagine 500 cars an hour, nonstop for 20 hours? Now, I don't think he really believed there are going to be 10,000 cars. At least I hope not, unless they know something about the development that we don't know. But I think 2,500 is probably the realistic number that he was trying to throw out there, because they have an idea that that's probably what it's going to be, which is the number he gave. 10 hours a day, that's 250 cars an hour. For 20 hours a day, that's still 125 cars per hour driving down this little street in front of our houses. There's not much more that I can say to that other than it would be ridiculous. And that is our biggest fear with this subdivision. We were not designed to handle this much traffic. It was meant to be a quaint little development where you can go walk the streets and your kids can ride the bikes. And I'm afraid that that's probably what we're looking at, 2,500 cars coming down one feeder street. So anyway, let me move on so that I can give you my 3-minute presentation here. So again, I don't know if you need this, but my name is Mike Intravia, 45 Windcastle. You know, there's been a lot of discussion over the months here. I think it's time to focus in on the real issue and pursue a solution that's in the best interest of the national builder that has proposed this rezoning, but also in the best interest of the residents of Windcastle. So how do you access this new development that they're proposing? Well, bottom line, this is the issue. If we're looking for what are we talking about here, we're not really talking about rezoning as much as, you know, the issue of how are you going to access this development. Solve that, and we've solved this whole rezoning problem. I'd like to say that before I go into the access proposal and the consideration, that Mr. Goss made a comment that he came up with this idea of this gate and everything up there because Fardale was our concern, that it would become a cut-through. That is not our concern. Fardale, access on Fardale is our solution to this problem. Respectfully, he's got it backwards. That is our solution. And he also made comment, which now has everybody back there, because I kept getting little notes from everybody. Everybody concerned because he made a comment the gate could be temporary. Well, does that mean the gate comes down? It could come down at some time, and now we have drive-through? Or does that mean that, you know, that it'll be closed off and the gate will come down? Access on Fardale, that's our solution. Make it a standalone development with no access through Windcastle. If the fire department requires a emergency access through Windcastle, look, we would fully understand and we would fully support that. But I don't really think they're going to. But if they do, we're going to support it. The benefits of bringing this access and making this a standalone property coming through Fardale. First, quite frankly, if no emergency gate is needed, the developer will realize a savings and probably be able to capture another lot where that entrance would come in and have another lot to build on and build another house. Bottom line, more profit for the builder. I think, and we believe, that this will increase the property values on Fardale by this development going in. The builder will then have a rezoned development that he can immediately begin working on, and quite frankly, with our best wishes. Windcastle would then remain as it was originally designed and developed to be. The national builder that wants to do this and Windcastle both wins with that solution. The second consideration is access through Windcastle. You know, look, I'm going to speak very frank about this. This is, in my estimation and most of my neighbors, simply about capitalizing on Windcastle. They want to use our name. They want to use our beautiful entrance. They want to use our reputation that we've developed over the years, and the drive through our development to market their homes with no consideration to the future impact on our development's environment, traffic issues, property values, and our lifestyle. Look, the two greatest concerns my wife Patty and I have is the significant impact of traffic. And I ask you to just try to imagine your house having that many cars go in front of it, because there's just no place else for this traffic to go. Access through Windcastle, it's good for the national builder, I recognize that, but it's bad for the residents of Windcastle. And quite frankly, it is simply not fair, but more importantly, it's not necessary to do this. We have a solution. So bottom line, we have a solution that I think is in everybody's interest. The solution is simple, it's immediate, it's decisive, and it's profitable for the builder. But it's also the right decision, and it's the fair decision for the residents of Windcastle. Access through Fairdale and make this a standalone development. I just want to make a comment that we've looked at privatizing our streets. But one of the problems we have right now, and I think there's a majority of people that are probably ready to privatize if we could, but Sue Schaefer, the developer, still has control of Plat 2, which is just going to make it difficult. And bottom line, that's not what we want to do. We don't want to make this complicated. We want to come up with a solution that's good for the builder and good for us. And so we're still willing, if you'd like to table this, we're still willing to sit down and communicate with them and see if we can make this happen. But if we can't, then I would ask you to deny rezoning at this time, and let's wait for another developer who'd like this opportunity.
Mike, is your subdivision Plat 2, is that what you mean by that?
Plat 2, yes.
Yeah, and then how many lots are in your subdivision?
Total lots?
45 in Plat 1 and 30 in Plat 2.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions for Mike?
Merry Christmas.
Just one question, I know.
Yes, sir.
I live in a subdivision that has been added to and added to and added to through the years. And I live on Arrow Rock Drive, and I can appreciate your concern about the traffic. But as time went by, we just got used to the traffic. We had an opportunity at one time to have an exit onto Fox Hill Road, but the people in the back of the subdivision did not want that because of fear of crime. So there's only one way in and one way out. Now with this new ordinance where you have to have an access, emergency access, then that's why you're having this other access. But I do appreciate your concern about the traffic, but I will tell you, with the amount of homes that are coming in here, we've absorbed it, and you get used to it. It's not that bad.
Well, and I not knowing fully where you live or how many feeder streets you have or how many other options that cars have to drive in other directions.
That's it. It's just Arrow Rock Drive is in and out.
Yeah. Do you have sidewalks, sir?
No.
No. This is a lot of cars, and I don't know if you've done a traffic study or if you've set up to see how many cars drive, but just think about it. If you've got for 20 hours a day 4 cars in a little subdivision like this, and I've lived in other subdivisions much like what you're talking about, and where they've added on, but the streets are wider. They're collector streets versus small, what do they call them, minors. And that's all we are. We're just a quaint little development,
Arrow Rock is the same.
a PUD.
Arrow Rock is identical to your streets.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question for Mr. Meyer, if anybody else, but, he's a spokesman for the subdivision. That's what we talked about, Mr. Tocco, sorry.
Okay.
Well, John can call you up. That's fine.
What question is there?
Mike, hold on, Michael. Let me ask
sir.
Robert Meyer some questions, and then if John wants to bring Mr. Tocco up, that's fine. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. You can sit down now. And
Okay, thank you.
Robert, how many lots are they adding with this proposal?
38.
38 lots. Here's what I'm confused about. 38 lots, they're talking 1,100, the study, the traffic study, they're talking 1,100 cars. I don't get that. You got 38 cars, and if everyone has 2 cars each, that's 60 or 74, what, 76?
Joe, I did the math on it. If you've got 38 cars, I figured 3 cars per household and 3 trips a day. 2 from work, maybe once the kid's school. You got 342 more cars a day on that road.
I don't see where
Not
1,100, who did the traffic study guy come up with 1,100? No. Okay, just hold on, just hold on. Just hold on. So the thing that I want to understand is, last meeting, there were discussions, and I wrote down some of the concerns. And what we try to do at the council is make decisions that are fair and equitable for everybody. And what I saw, what I heard, John was out of town, and so I took the position that I thought the Fairdale connection to me was not at all. It's like mixing oil and water as far as subdivisions. It's like putting agriculture next to apartments. It's something you just don't do. You try to graduate into levels of houses, graduate up, graduate down. And so we thought that it would be fair that Fairdale would be eliminated from the subdivision because of the graduation of the housing stock, which made sense to me. But some of the other things that were requested, like side entry garages and things like that, the council has nothing to do with subdivision covenants. We can't dictate that to any developer. We can just follow the zoning laws. And the thing that most concerns me is this reminds me of the soccer park we had. We had an opportunity to put in a soccer park. The zoning was a certain way. And the neighbors got so involved that we lost the deal, and now they could build houses there. So what's better, soccer park or houses? So going back to that same analysis, the zoning right now is denser than what they're requesting. Isn't that correct?
No, it's 35.
Right now, it's,
It goes from 35 to 38.
But they're 1 acre lots, right?
They are.
right now, it's a minimum 1 acre lots. And so, once you take out roads and et cetera, if they developed under the existing zoning, by right, they could do probably about 35 lots, by right?
Yes.
And so, under the scenario that they've got on the agenda now, it'd be 38 lots. So really, we're talking about 3 lots, roughly.
And just
So with that being said, if he went back, then he doesn't, if the zoning's already permitted, then he would not have to come to the council. Is that correct? He would just go to plan and just go to community development since it's already zoned properly. Is that correct? If he had never come here to begin with,
right,
he would just be able to go right back to the planning, to community development and just develop his subdivision without our input. Is that correct?
Right, except if someone develops by right under existing zoning and they don't request any subdivision waivers or variances, then the Planning and Zoning Commission can approve that plat without it coming before you. But if the developer is asking for subdivision waivers or variances, it has to go one step further to this body, and you need to approve that. So in this case, they're asking for both a rezoning and a preliminary plat with some subdivision variance waivers, or variances, I should say. And the first plat, well, actually, the plat was before you, that came before you on December 7th. The only waiver they're asking for has to do with sidewalks, and it really amounts to about 4 lots, putting sidewalks in front of 4 lots. That's really the difference. They're proposing to put in sidewalks on the street that would connect, and so the plat that was before you on December 7th, and I believe, unless I'm wrong procedurally, I think it's still before you with a street that connects. The subdivision waiver would be for about 4 lots for street sidewalks.
Mr. Cronin?
One thing I think it's important to see, Windcastle Plat 2 is the same zoning they're seeking for this. To me, the zoning and the plot's 2 different things. They're actually asking for the same the same zoning as Windcastle 2. So having 2 and 3 be in the same zoning classification only makes sense. Secondly is, with what they're asking with this zoning, I disagree with Ms. Fromm said earlier. They're talking 38, lots on 35 acres. If they wanted to go in there and do it otherwise, you'd be seeing earth movers and all those trees and all that greenery gone. I commend the builder for this. If you look at the map of this thing, they're by doing it the way they're doing it, they're leaving much more of the green space there and not dozing down as much stuff. So we're only talking about 3 different lots. They're asking for the same zoning as the existing Windcastle. I see no issues with the rezoning. Now, if we want to talk about the plot, that's a different story. But the rezoning, they're asking the same, Robert, if I'm not, wrong, Fairdale is approximately the same size lots. Windcastle
Right.
2 is the same size lots, approximately, as the Bluffs of Windcastle.
Correct. Right, yeah, the proposed zoning would match the zoning in Windcastle 2, and it would, the lots that they're proposing for the subdivision would match the lot sizes in Fairdale. Although Fairdale is actually zoned R1A, single-family residential, which is minimum 1 acre lots. It wasn't developed that way. It was actually developed pre-zoning. Fairdale was developed in 1958, so that predated zoning by a year. And those lots are about 20,000 square feet, which is slightly less than half an acre in Fairdale.
Yeah, Terry?
Yeah, Mr. Meyer, Mr. Goss has proposed this gate. What is the opinion of the staff on that particular issue?
Well, staff feels that the street that would extend, if a street extended through, that would meet the minimum standards of the subdivision regulations. Now, if a gate were proposed and be introduced on public streets, we feel like that it would be better off if the streets were private, then they have more latitude to put in a gate because it would no longer be in a public right-of-way. What they're proposing here is like a private gate going across a public right-of-way, which is concerning to us. From a technical standpoint, I think we can make it work. Staff had some comments on how to make that work, but staff is actually in favor of the plat where the streets connect because that most complies or best complies with the minimum standards of the subdivision regulations.
Okay.
If I can, Joe.
Yeah, Michael.
We've had other cases, though, that we're in St. Charles City, where a city subdivision originally connected to a county subdivision. They put in a gate for a while. Actually, it wasn't a gate at all. It was just a barricade. And it worked. It wasn't, generally I like connectivity of streets better. It actually makes things flow easier. But I endorse the idea of the gate. I think that it separates the 2 different styles of neighborhoods. And, the idea that this could access, this new Windcastle from the other side just doesn't work out. I mean, it's much more like Windcastle. It might not be exactly the same, but it is more similar to Windcastle 1 and 2 than it is to the other side. So I think from that standpoint, I think that it was a good compromise. It's one of the things that through this process, and I really want to thank the community for coming and expressing their concerns. This is exactly the type of adjustments to the plan that I think that these type of meetings bring about. I think that we've made progress. Is it perfect? No, it's not. It's not making everybody in the room happy, and that's a perfect scenario. But I think we're making some steps towards that I think the gate does.
Okay, I got one other question. Greg, on the privatization of the subdivision, if in fact they maintain control after the other remaining lots are sold, what would it take? Are they going to be able to, what does it take for a subdivision to adapt the streets if they're county roads? And you're at the end of the subdivision, correct? Right, Mike? I mean,
We're plat one.
So if you were privatized, are you at the end or are you at the beginning? Oh, I see, okay, so that would create a problem there. I don't have a question. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's an easy one to answer.
Answer the question that he was going to
I
ask.
thought they were at the very, I was confused, I thought they were, but, okay.
Be frank with you, you know, in my district, we have the opposite. We've got people with private streets that are turning them into county streets quite frequently. When they get the taste of how much that's going to cost to maintain and plow those streets, I don't think you're going to go that way. And if you want to talk to some folks in the St. Paul area that had private streets that decided to make them public and spent a lot of money on the upgrades to make them to county standards, and then also they had to do bonding to get them paid for. It's not a cheap proposition.
Right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to ask the gentleman that had questions to come forward and ask his questions.
The other one, too.
Is there somebody else that wanted to ask questions also?
Dr. Meyer.
Okay, yeah.
This is basically a question pertinent to the questions that were just asked of this gentleman, because, you know, as you all know, for 8 months, we've been talking about this project and this development. I disagree with a lot of comments I've heard. Mr. Goss has presented a revised plat that we know nothing about. We know about it firsthand tonight, okay? He represents it as a good solution, a solution that even Windcastle residents agreed to. That's not true. It's simply not true. So how does the staff who sat here in planning and zoning and said that this has to be a cut-through because, well, they didn't say it has to be, it said is our recommendation that this has to come through. So now, all of a sudden, like manna from the sky, we're presented with a plan that says, we don't need a variance from the fire department. We can put a gate up at Fairdale. It solves all the issues. And I guess the streets don't have to be private. Is that what I heard you say? Because we were told all along that if it was gated, that the streets would become private, and would you share in the cost of privatization, Windcastle? You know, where did this come from, and how did it come about? Mr. Goss stood up here and pontificated about how he wouldn't go to the fire department because of topographical issues, that it was straight, it was flat, they wouldn't do it. My experience as an attorney would not allow me to go because I know they wouldn't approve it, and all of a sudden it's approved. So when he presents this as the solution and agreed upon by Windcastle, that's not right. Mr. Intreva had the solution. That was, don't come through Windcastle. Build off the integrity of the builder, come through Fairdale. He also said, we're trying to blend the character. That's why we want these streets to come through. That's not called blending the character. That's called greed. That's what it's called. That's why they want to come through Windcastle. I know you can't do this on a motion, you have to do it legally, but where did this all come from? That's the other reason we're asking to have this continued. We want the opportunity to speak with these guys about all these sudden changes. We want the opportunity to compromise. What's the problem with that?
Yeah, hold on a second. Michael?
Yep. I just want to make sure, I've been out there a couple times, and I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out compromises and best solutions for everybody. And I understand, you know, the argument or the discussion, the fear of 38 more houses being connected and 38 more round trips to and from work and school and all that sort of thing. If I understand correctly, we're saying you guys don't want that, but it's okay for those 38 cars to go down Ferndale.
Makes more sense. Less residences, same access. You want to put an emergency gate up, you can still, when county council or when staff said, well, all those residents over there on Jacob Station, they need another way to get emergency vehicles to them. That's the reason we wanted to cut through both ways. If you put an emergency gate up at Windcastle, they have the same facility, right? So why is it fairer for this developer and this attorney that represent a phantom development with phantom residents to be favored in favor of us? I don't get it. I think one of the councilmen said the last time, in fact, I think it was you, Mr. Brazel, said, there's no residents there yet. They buy into what they buy into. But they want them to buy into our name. That's what it's about.
Question, sir. If the Schaefer Homes would have continued ownership of this, they certainly would have used the Windcastle name when they developed it.
Of course they would have. But they would be building the same thing that they're building in Windcastle currently, in Plat 2.
Would we still be having these meetings then?
Probably not.
But
Mr. Cronin-
basically,
I'm
the
sorry.
same thing would be proposed, other than the style of homes, correct? Well, 35 homes rather than 38.
Maybe.
Less homes.
Yeah, it's less
3.
homes.
We were promised 1 to 5 acres on the other homes. That's what we were.
But the promises don't, you know,
Okay, so.
Hold on, Mr. Cronin?
A few things. First of all, I don't see a bunch of significant changes. I see a gate, okay, with limited access. Mr. Klinghammer talked about that at the last meeting.
Yes.
He suggested it. I sent an email last week to, I believe, a lady who represented your homeowners association stating, would a gate at the end of, with a connection to Fairdale, would that be sufficient to make you folks happy? And I was told it would not, okay? So this isn't just come out of the blue. This has been discussed 2 weeks, starting 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And we're, as far as a lot of changes, we're talking about one gate, not that much. As far as the Plat 2 versus Plat 3, if you look at the maps, okay, it's pretty apparent. When Plat 2 was developed, okay, there was access to Plat 3. There's actually a space between lots, there's curb cuts on the maps and everything. So, I mean, you folks had to know down the road. If the Realtor didn't tell you, shame on her, but there was plans for Plat 3 all along to connect to Plat 2.
At what point in time?
Well, I mean, at the time when they did the original plans for Plat 2.
She
They're on
didn't
the
even
maps.
own the property until
Whoever presented
2006 or 7.
Whoever presented it, it's on there. But how else would you think of the space of no man's land between the two lots? So I don't see this as coming out of the clear blue. This is something I think be frank with you, and I've dealt with a lot of developers as an alderman. I think the developer is really tried to work with you folks, and I think this, well, you can laugh, ma'am, but I've got a lot of experience with this. I'm just telling you what I'm telling you. The other thing would be is he didn't think that he had a chance to get that gate put up, and now there's a chance he's worked through the things to get that gate.
Why
So
didn't
you're
he
talking about 38 homes, okay? It's not the end of the world, and you know, I think they've jumped through hoops. I would be more concerned if I was you folks that the fellow's only putting 38 homes in there. If they really wanted to and they wanted to try for higher zonings, you could see earth movers out there and a whole lot more homes. I think the development will actually be an attribute to your community long term.
Why didn't they give us the opportunity to talk about this? Why didn't they go do it when we asked them to do it?
We talked about it 2 weeks ago, about
No,
the
I
Knox
mean-
box and the gate. Mr. Klinghammer brought it up, sir.
It's 8 months in the making, though.
Well, here,
Mr.
let me
Goss told us
explain,
that he
let me explain that.
wouldn't do it.
With the whole gate thing, as I said, I would not support the subdivision if Fairdale connected, because the subdivision we're proposing, the new subdivision is much more similar to your subdivision than the Fairdale subdivision. So I thought that made the best solution. And we can't sit up here and, you know, we got to base our stuff based on law, you know? And so it's not easy, but if there, I just don't, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
What law are you speaking of, Joe?
on the zoning laws.
Well, the zoning, I'm not really arguing about zoning.
Okay, sir, let me go, does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Tocco?
Again, I would ask the council to table.
Dr. Meyer, you want to come up here?
Thank you for letting us speak beyond the 9 minutes. Really appreciate it. I'm sure Mr. Goss is going to want equal time, but I think we're getting confused here tonight. I really do. And I took the time to read the entire St. Charles County Charter and the Master Plan and Vision 2025. Went through all 80 pages of it. Took notes, the whole bit. And my question, I know the county council has the final say through a vote of what happens on the rezoning and the plat plan. But we do have a planning and zoning commission. If you look at the master plan, it states in there real specifically, and I've sent you all an email today or last night where I quoted it specifically, okay, about how planning and zoning, okay, basically controls the variances or controls the large plats of land. They decide what happens to them. Planning and zoning does. I know the council and I know the county executor has a final say, okay? But why do we have planning and zoning? You guys don't want to do their work. You don't have the time and effort to do that. They do it every month. Every month they do it. They come in here, they listen to all of us. They listen to 20 or 25 of us. We listen to Mr. Goss at length. What decision did they make about the rezoning? They denied it. We were all there when they took the vote. Planning and zoning, your colleagues in the St. Charles County government, they've gone over all this stuff. Mr. Cronin, with all due respect, the lots are not the same size. You were sent all that information.
They're 20,000.
You were sent all that information. If you would have looked at the charts, you would realize that they are not the same size. If you would have read my email.
I read your email, sir, and I
Okay.
read every email that came from
Thank
anybody
you.
about
Let
it.
me ask you a question, though, on that issue. If you're talking about the rezoning only, okay? Let's say that the rezoning doesn't pass, then you're going back to 35 lots. So we're still going to have all the same issues, aren't we?
No. Look at the master plan. They talk about low-density housing. I'm sure they spent thousands and thousands of dollars on the master plan. It includes R1A. Very specifically, it states in there, okay? It talks about thoroughfare traffic at length, helping eliminate pass-through on low-density housing. It is specific. It talks about it does not intend to disrupt stable neighborhoods. It's specific. It's in black and white in the master plan that the St. Charles County Council and Planning and Zoning spent, I'm assuming, many hours and lots of money preparing and putting together. It's what's going to happen 10 or 15 years down the road.
Sir, myself and Mr. Brazel were on the master plan steering
Then you
commission.
should know exactly
Yes, I
what it
do.
says.
I spent 2 years on planning and zoning. I'm going to read you from the planning and zoning letter where they voted no against this. It says, basically, the Planning and Zoning Division recommends approval as conforming to the 2025 future land use plan, which is what you're referring to master plan, and finds the proposed density in lot areas under R1B zoning to be in keeping with other area developments of 1 to 4 units per acre. It is compliance with the master plan, sir.
That was staff.
Yeah. Well,
Who did the commit? How did the committee vote, sir?
I can tell you exactly.
Can you tell me how the
Yes,
committee
sir.
voted?
1 to 4 units per, I can tell you how the.
All right. Look, guys,
I have just one other thing to say, Mr. Brazil, and that's it. St. Charles County Charter, okay? The main theme of the St. Charles County Charter is on the first page. I'm sure all of you can recite it word for word. What does it say? It says, the purpose of the St. Charles government, okay, is to protect the welfare and prosperity of its citizens. You got 59 homeowners here. Do you think any of their property values are going to go up? Can you sit here and tell me that their property values are going to go up? Absolutely not. Can you tell me that the welfare of these citizens is going to be improved by approving this zoning and the plat plan? Absolutely not. But that's what it says in the county charter. And that's what I sent in my email today to each and every one of you. It talks about, sir, the low-density proposal that you put together, okay? It talks about the monotony of houses. It even talks about the monotony of houses in high density. What are we going to, as the county council has already stated, you have no control on what kind of houses are going to go in that subdivision.
All right, let's.
That's all I'm going to say.
All right,
sir.
I got Mike. I got one question for Mike. Mike, anybody got a question for him?
Well, I just want to comment. R1B is low-density housing.
Exactly, but so is R1A.
Yes. They both
That's
are.
exactly right.
Let me have
Planning and zone, but how can we ignore what planning and zoning has spent months and months and months looking at?
Okay, Doc,
and voted down.
Michael.
We just don't agree with it.
That's you know. Here's the thing, you guys. If we were to say, let's just say hypothetically that the council said, you know what, we could table this to the next meeting or whatever, but I don't see where there's been nothing offered for besides. I don't know. You guys don't want to. You don't want nothing. I mean, I don't know if there's going to a compromise that's even reasonable that can be made. That's the only thing. It just seems like it's like this. Well, and that's, I just don't know. And again, I mean, I don't know if there's any, as far as I know, I don't know if there's any urgency whatsoever. If I told your group that I thought the Fairdale thing was a good solution or something to try to make a compromise. If the council wants to table it, they can. But if there's not a resolution at the next meeting, I'm forging forward with the substitute bill. However, this council may want to just go with it tonight. I'm just saying, it just seems like it's just a bunch of wheels spinning.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm sorry,
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
It seems like, you know, our hands are tied, I think, on several of these things. Number one, the rezoning, Plat 2 is already zoned the same way. And I know there's going to be different types of houses. The recommendation of staff about the street going through, I don't think most of us agree with that, okay? And I'm sure that you don't, okay? The question I have is, you know, and I don't know the answer to this, but how seriously have you really considered privatizing your streets? Because to me, that looks to me like the only solution that's going to make everybody, you know, happy.
I can tell you that everybody that I've talked to over the past few days in our group is very serious. And we all recognize that there's a cost to it, but we feel that this cost, if we have to go this route, we feel this cost will benefit us, you know, one, from the things that we're worried about impacting us. This traffic, I'm telling you, this is a real concern for us. But the other thing is the value of our properties. Probably the reality is this subdivision should have probably been gated from the beginning. And, you know, and I'll tell you just a couple of points, and then I have one question for you. First off, the Plat 3, you know, do we really want to see that go in? No, but are we willing to compromise if it was being built by Sue Schaefer with the 1 acre lots and the expectation that the subdivision would continue to look the way it looks? Yeah, I think we all probably would. But, you know, our subdivision, when it was originally designed and by the engineering firm that put those streets in, it was not designed for a third plat. The Plat 3 was not in the original design. We've talked to the person that designed that subdivision. He said it was designed and the streets were designed to handle traffic flow and an environment for 2 plats. She added that on, I believe in 2005 or 2006. And, but, you know, I understand. I mean, she's a developer. She's trying to make it bigger. And I understand the builder. I understand they want to make money. And I understand the county wants the county wants to see development continue.
Okay.
So look, can I just finish, be real quick?
Yeah, I was just going to have Mike, I think, want to ask you a question. Did you, Mike?
No, I just wanted to make a comment.
Oh, okay, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. I thought he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what we're just asking for is, there's two solutions here. You commented you have to rule according to law. Well, what this is coming down to is, if it's law, what's wrong with legally, would there be some law or precedents that would prevent you from allowing this to be a standalone development that comes in on Fardale? I kind of doubt it, but if there is, if legally you can't do that, well, then there ain't much we can do, is there? But I think you probably legally can. And, we want to be cooperative. We're looking for a solution. We're still willing to sit down. He's laughing at me. But I'm telling you, we have a thought. We have something that we would be interested in presenting to them, because we want to try. But, at the end of the day, I know this is hard for you. This comes down to, do you vote when you have two options, an option that allows them to still have a subdivision and allows them to be profitable by coming in with a standalone, or come through Windcastle? And I'm not going to deny, if they come through Windcastle and use our subdivision, they're going to be able to charge more money for the homes. But so your vote comes down to, do you vote for residents like myself of 40 years and all the other people that have been here? Do you vote and choose Plan A that still works for the builder, or do you vote for Plan B that for a national company from out of state that wants to come in and capitalize, which it's a good business decision, go in and suck those lots up and use that beautiful subdivision to put in lesser homes? They'll sell fast. So anyway, I guess my only question is whether or not, and you may not be able to answer it, is there anything legally that would prevent you from considering both options, one for us and one for them?
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Mike?
I know Greg maybe could answer that question. I don't know. I would tell the residents of Windcastle, I feel for you, because I think basically you got promised one thing when you built your house and when you bought your lot, and then the person who owns the land where Plot 3 is going in changed horses on you in midstream. I get why you're upset. I think Windcastle is probably one of the, if not the nicest subdivision that we have in the county, at least with that many homes. I still go back to what I had asked for in the last meeting, and I wish you guys could all go together to Cottleville and ask them to get the Fire Protection District and ask them, hey, can we get a variance and just build all this together? I don't need a gate. I don't need anything. It's not going to connect if they give you the variance, because people had pointed out it had been done before. And obviously the folks from Windcastle are more than happy to come out to meetings, because you've come to a lot of them. More than I would probably go to. Go ahead.
The only thing I would suggest, and I asked some of the council members this, is I will support the subdivision if the Fairdale thing is. However, I also would, I don't know the urgency, I said before, and we talked about this, and if we were to table this, and I don't even know if I got the votes to do that, but I don't want to keep revisiting the same old issues.
And we don't either.
So if we were to table it, if you guys come back and have all the same problems and got no resolution, we're just going to, I'm just going to vote in favor of it, okay? But if you feel that if you could come up with a serious resolution, a serious compromise, that the builder that's reasonable and equitable or fair or whatever, however you want to call it, I would be willing to table it. But I don't want to put these gentlemen on a bad spot here, because this thing, we feel like, I think I don't want to say we've exhausted every opportunity, because I quite frankly don't know what the builder has offered to do. We haven't been privy to any of these meetings. We don't have a clue what went on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Mr. Goss, I guess
I think we all want to come to a resolution with this one way or the other.
Mr. Goss, you want to make a comment, I suppose? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Sure.
Thank you. There is a sense of urgency. I have contractual deadlines, and there are financial penalties, which both the seller and the buyer will bear if we do not have a vote on the ordinance.
Financial penalties from who?
From the seller's lender, So there are financial penalties, and so there is urgency.
There's no
We already
continued-
tabled this once at P&Z to have another meeting with the residents of Wincastle, and we were not successful in reaching a resolution. There have been some comments made about traffic and traffic study, which just, quite frankly, the numbers that were quoted were inaccurate. I can bring Mr. Cannon back up here to go through those. I don't know that this council really wants me to do that. However, yeah, I don't see a purpose in doing that. I think the record stands. However, I do want to go back to an email that was sent to me on November 13th at 4:59 p.m. from the folks at Wincastle, their representative. And what this email said was, in summary, the following are the top items of concern for the homeowners, parentheses, but not inclusive of all issues to be resolved. Number 1, do not want Wincastle to become a cut-through subdivision, parenthetical, no connection to Fairdale. Close parenthetical. This is for safety and security concerns. That's what we're proposing. No connection to Fairdale. The proposal to us wasn't, cut it off, you use Fairdale as your only means of going in and out. The proposal that was supposed to be satisfactory back in the beginning of November was, don't use Fairdale as a cut-through. And so we've provided for that. We've put in the gate. We have met the objection that was raised to us back in November, in the beginning of November, by the folks in Wincastle. Today I'm hearing that's not good enough, that what I need to do instead is not connect to Wincastle at all, and that I should go through Fairdale subdivision. And I don't believe that that is a reasonable compromise. The other concerns that were raised were that we've all addressed in terms of covenant issues, in terms of stormwater issues. We went through the stormwater issues. We showed how we were meeting them, how we were addressing them. They asked that we share in the costs of their entrance monument, and we share in the cost of their pond. We agreed to do that. They asked us to remove the sidewalks in the development. We applied for the variance and are requesting that you do that. That is their request that we do that. So there are about 7 items. We've met all of them, with the exception of one, and that was with respect to stormwater, where they'd wanted us not to have any swales and use a low-density, low-impact stormwater method, which is approved by the county, and in fact, your county staff said is the better way to go, given the topography of this subdivision. So I appreciate their concern, I do. But I think that what we have done, I do think that we have really tried to be responsive, and we have proposed something that I think does meet the objections that I've heard from the residents, and I'd respectfully ask that you approve this tonight.
Okay, so where we are tonight, right now, gentlemen, is if we're going to make Terry, you got something?
Question. I think Lorna had a question.
Yes, ma'am. Come up to the microphone, please.
Again, my name is Lorna Fromm, and this is a question for county planning staff. If this were to be approved tonight, and this rezoning went through and the preliminary plat were approved, would we, as members of Wincastle, would we still be able to seek privatization of our streets? Would there be anything that would preclude us from doing that?
I don't know what your declarations and covenants within the existing Wincastle subdivisions call for in terms of control over the streets. Whether you would, I mean, it's possible in a neighborhood with no covenants and restrictions, you'd have to basically have consent of all the property owners. And that can be really difficult to get 100% consent to anything. But there could be an option in your declarations of covenants and restrictions of, the subdivision association having that type of control. And so the county staff would certainly work with you all if that's the option you were looking at. But that would take a petition and be a process that would not be quick.
I understand Councilman Cronin's concern about the cost, but these streets were built to county specifications at the inception. And we understand we have an issue with Plat 2 being controlled by Sue Schaefer or Schaefer Development or Castle Group or whatever LLC that is. But we would be willing to give Plat 2 an easement of necessity to get through into their streets, so as long as they needed to get through back there. And at some point in the future, when Fairdale is opened up in Plat 3, that necessity may no longer be there. But my question is, because there seems to be no urgency tonight, but I just would like to know if someone could tell us, if this gets approved tonight, do we still have that as an option? We would have applied for that a long time ago, except for the unique situation with Plat 2, that being that the development is controlled exclusively by the developer. We do have a homeowners association, we have covenants, we certainly could fill the petition out and seek to make those streets private. But everybody says there's no big deal tonight, no big issue. I would just like to know if when we leave here tonight that we are spinning our wheels, we can't even seek to have those streets vacated and we file a petition to have private roads. So that's the question I'm asking.
Greg, let me ask you a question. Let me add to what she's saying. When you said that all the subdivision people have to agree, is that the subdivision, the existing subdivision, or would that include the new subdivision that's not there yet?
Well, if the only public road access for the Bluffs at Windcastle, the plat currently before you tonight, were across the public streets of Windcastle Plats 1 and 2, and Windcastle Plats 1 and 2 sought to take those private, it's going to take the consent of Plat 3. So it depends on which option you're talking about. If it's approved with a through connection in the public street to Fairdale, perhaps that's a different situation. But under the substitute bill solution, that wouldn't necessarily be there. So then you would have the new plat relying on the public street access in Plats 1 and 2.
Mr. Dorman, if nothing were approved tonight, Fairdale is a public road, is that correct?
Yes.
So right now, Plat 3 could have access through Fairdale, is that correct?
The land that is being proposed for redevelopment adjoins Fairdale Lane to public road as well as the public road through Windcastle.
So if Windcastle Plat 1 were to become private, Plat 3 could still have access through a public road, which is Fairdale.
Well, if nothing were approved tonight, that would be the case.
And that's exactly why I'm asking that we have time to explore this. The decision you make tonight could have a far-reaching impact. How many of you know historic homes in St. Charles that have been here for over 100 years? The decision you all make tonight is a 100-year decision. It really, truly is. I mean, we are just hardworking people. We vote at Kiska Road. We are looking forward to our new park on Kiska Road. We shop at Target. We are such supporters of this community. Just don't make a decision tonight that would preclude us from seeking what Councilmember Klinghammer suggested. If there is a way for us to make these streets private, we want to do it. We do. We really do.
Yes, Mr. Cronin.
I think you'll have an issue with that because if you look at Windcastle Plat 2, which I've looked at this issue which you were speaking of, I'm pretty certain that the Windcastle Plat 2 gives a deeded access between lots 54 and 76 in Windcastle 2 to the property in question. So even though if you make them privatize those streets, those folks at the Bluffs of Windcastle have an ability to use those the streets in Windcastle Plat 2 per the deed map that's submitted.
You're exactly right, Councilmember Cronin. That's why Windcastle Plat 1 would give Plat 2 an easement by necessity, knowing that they need to get out to
No, I'm talking about an easement between 3, the Bluffs, okay, and 2. It's on the plot map, okay? It's a space between lots 54 and 76 that's dedicated for access to the Bluffs of Windcastle. It's on the plat map. I'm seeing it clear. They wouldn't have put that on there without a dedication.
Well, I think that's an issue that, I mean, I'm asking the question, and I think that's a question we should probably ask county staff, and I'm not seeing that they really have a clear indication.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this, Mike?
Can I make a motion that we table this until the January 11th meeting to give everybody an opportunity to talk this thing through? Because in all fairness to Mr. Goss and Lombardo Homes, I didn't hear about a gate until today either. So I didn't, Brad, until you talked to me earlier. I didn't hear about a gate until today. With all due respect, brother, I get a lot of emails. So if I missed yours, I'm very sorry, but the email didn't say, hey, Mike, there's a gate, look at this. So I didn't open it up and look at it. So with all due respect, I missed that. I didn't hear about the gate until
That might have been
today.
my fault, and I'll say why. Because it was staff was opposed to the idea. But I told some of the council members that we make those kind of decisions. And so I was offering that. I thought it was a good compromise, okay? And maybe I don't know if we sent it out, did we? I don't know. But,
Those emails went out.
okay, well, I didn't know, okay.
Yeah, so either way, I would make a motion that we give them until the next meeting to work out a compromise and give them the opportunity to figure out what they're going to do with their neighborhood, because I just would. So there's my motion.
Second the motion.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Cronin?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
No.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
No.
So what did it do?
4-3.
4-3. You're going to have to take that again, because we're not in order. and
Can I
doing
just ask one
2,
thing?
3.
Point of order, are you tabling both bills or just the one bill? I couldn't tell.
Well, we haven't got to the other bill yet, but it only makes sense to table them both, I would think. But we're on the first bill right now. We're on 4291.
I'd just like to make one quick comment, if we're going to redo this, okay? The prime rate went up this week, okay? The borrowing cost is going up to that developer, okay? If they back out, okay, it may be fine for these people, but it's not good for the people that build those houses. It's not good for the school districts that rely on the income from that. And we take a chance of this whole project going to poo if we table this. I'd say let's suck it up, get it done with, and put it this way, this next developer may not be as good, and you folks may laugh about this, but they may not be as good as the one you've got. I've seen it happen before. I spent a lot of times in local government, so you might be better off. You lose these guys, the next guys might be coming in here for 76 homes in that property, okay? Not 38.
Well, here's all I'm going to say is this. The prime rate may or may not go up in a week or so, but these people are going to, this subdivision is here to stay, so we got to make sure we make all the right decisions and cover all the bases. And I know John and everyone's put time into this, but this would be a fatal error if we didn't do it right. And so I will support, but I did tell Mr. Goss that I will, if you guys do not come up with a solution, a reasonable solution, I will support the subdivision as is. And I'm serious about that because, you know, I know, I feel your pain, believe me, but there has to be a solution, okay? It has to be a reasonable solution. So, roll call. This is a motion to table Bill 4291.
Correct.
Huh? Well, she said she missed it.
I did not get that.
So-
Went way too fast.
Councilmember Cronin?
One point of order, can we discuss this any further?
The table?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I've had the opportunity to sit through this for this to be my third month.
Yeah.
And the last proposal that was before us tonight to put the gate down at Fairlane, I thought was a good solution. Actually, the best solution is not to put a gate at either end so people can go either direction, and it reduces the traffic that's going through Phase 1 and 2. They're not restricted to go only through one way or the other. I have a hard time understanding why people would cut through your subdivision when the streets meander everywhere. It's much more efficient, you know, to stay on the main drags. Either way, whichever main street, arterial street is closer.
Councilman
Now, you've had an opportunity, I've listened to you all, I'd like to speak for a minute.
Sure.
And now I lost my train of thought. But anyway.
Traffic wasn't going to cut through.
I have a hard time understanding why traffic would cut through. And as Mr. Cronin explained, I think you've got a better deal here than what's going to come down the road. You know, if the economy goes bad again, you know, no telling what could go in there. You may end up with something a lot worse than you have already.
If I may, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You know what, though? Here's the thing. We got to vote on a motion, okay? And I hear what you're saying, Dave, but if Plan and Zoning tabled it, we should be able to have the opportunity as a council to table as well. So, and I don't see the urgency. 2 weeks isn't going to kill anything or hurt anything. And I know that, we've been here, we're 9 o'clock, and we've been talking about this for over an hour, which is an important issue, but we have other business to talk about.
It's going to change in 2 weeks.
Well, I'm giving them that opportunity. And so if nothing changes, then there's no solution or resolution.
If I can, Joe.
Yeah, Michael.
One of the things that could change is if they do find a way to do private roads, that could stop this development. And and I understand that's what you want. To vote no on $600,000 to $800,000 homes, though, even a small subdivision of that caliber is usually something that we strive very hard to attract to our community. It is not usually one that we try to eliminate from our community. The issue about whether or not there's 35 homes or 38 homes isn't really the issue, folks. Let's be real about it. It's about $600,000 homes being next door to yours. And that 35 houses, 38 houses, the traffic flow from, unless it was my house when we had a lot of kids, but most houses don't have a whole lot of traffic that is generated by them. So I just have a hard time welling up a whole lot of empathy or sympathy for building $600,000 to $800,000 houses. That's really what it comes down to. And anytime that somebody builds the adjacent subdivision, yeah, there is pain and there's some adjustment that goes along with that. We try to minimize that as much as we can. I thought we had a good way to minimize some of that cut-through traffic. Can we stop all development from happening there? I don't really understand what you guys want. What would be the perfect solution for that patch of land? To build nothing but $1 million homes? Is that, is that the standard that we're trying for? Because if that's it, 2-week extension isn't going to really make any difference. Mike, and I'm sorry, I forgot what your last name was. I would call you by your last name, but I can remember Mike. You had kind of alluded that you had another, idea or concept. This would be a good time to share.
Do we want to go through that right now, or let's first see if we're going to table it, or do you want to do this now, Mike? I mean, we beat this thing to death.
We have something serious that we would like.
I know.
But it wasn't. We were open-minded, they remained open-minded. It might, I know he's laughing at me again.
Well, now listen, let's just do this.
It might work, but
This is good.
Can we ask Robert one question?
Yeah, but we come on now. We could go back and forth. Yeah, I mean, so all I'm suggesting is that on the floor right now, there's a motion to table the bill, okay? And that is going to afford these people the opportunity to talk about his solution. Whether or not it's valid or not, we don't know. But we can't sit here and discuss it for another hour. So,
Mr. Chairman, may I just make a point?
Yes.
With you all parliamentarian-wise. So your votes were actually, even though Donna didn't catch them, they were electronically recorded. So it's very crucial that you re-vote in the exact same way that you vote. If somebody wants to change their vote, then somebody who is in the majority the first time needs to make a motion to reconsider immediately. I mean, all you have to do, hopefully, I know you guys are very careful with each other to observe each other's points. If somebody wants to change their vote, it's really important that you do that. Otherwise, the very vote tabling it may be in question legally. So
I understand. I would hope to think everybody sticks with their same vote. That's what they will do.
Well, but I think you missed the point. There's
We
not
can
going to be
change.
another vote unless somebody who was in the majority, one of the 4 of you who voted to table, makes a motion to reconsider.
Right, so.
And then there will be another vote.
Oh, so we don't need another.
Unless,
Donna's
if you
asking
want
you to do
another
is letting
vote,
her know how you
somebody,
did vote.
one of the 4 ayes has to ask for reconsideration.
Is there anybody on this council that wants to change their previous vote? Okay, seeing none, we have a 4-vote majority, so the bill is tabled.
Right.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're moving on to the next bill. 4292.
Bill number 4292, an ordinance of the County of St. Charles, Missouri approving the preliminary plat of the Bluffs at Windcastle.
Make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead, Mike.
I think we're on the same page. I'll
Go
make a
ahead.
Motion to hold bill number 4292 until the next council meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that bill has been tabled as well. Moving on to Bill 4293.
Bill number 4293, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 15-00009 for automobile and truck sales to Mid-Jeff Properties Incorporated and Parminder Singh.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4293? What's his name? Robert? Where's he at? Where are you?
Right
Oh, there you are. Can you go?
Can make a suggestion, we just hold off for
Wait,
a minute.
we'll wait 2 minutes. You guys go ahead and,
I think we need to.
we'll take a 2-minute break, okay? I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
idea.
Me, Joe Brown, Terry H., Mike K. We all voted
I think it might be just, oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay, guys, you ready to get started?
Let's go.
Okay, is everybody ready?
Ready?
All right, Bill 4293. Carol or Donna?
I already read the title, so
Oh, you
now
read
we're
it?
going to discussion, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to amend Bill 4293 and replace it with substitute Bill 4293.
Okay, all those, second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the amendment bill has been adopted. Robert, you want to go over that real quick? What we did is I got an email from one of you guys? Yeah, you? Okay, sorry. And I believe that you have some questions that we'll be able to answer, but we addressed, for the most part, I think every one of your concerns, except for extending the fence a little bit. I didn't know about that. We did get a privacy fence. The water detention, he can explain that to you. That's part of our community development. We'll review the water runoff and all that. That's in the ordinance as well. The time frame, you guys said 7 o'clock. That's unreasonable. So it's 9 o'clock is what it is. The cars, you talked about mandating 20 cars. Well, that's unreasonable as well. However, you said that the lot size is only big enough for 30 cars. Is that what you said?
I thought you said 40. Okay.
You said 30 in your email, didn't you?
There's 40 in your conditional use permit. He said the gentleman that's going to purchase the property said
60 that night.
Okay, is 40 in the permit then?
Yes.
Is that in the conditions though? No, ma'am, hold on. Please don't do that. Is it in the?
Cars need to be parked so that they're independently maneuverable. And what that means is you won't stack up cars behind cars behind cars. So if you just look at the number of spaces they have out there, they've shown like 29 spaces on the lot and maybe 1 or 2 inside. They said they have a little showroom and they want to have some.
What's preventing him from adding to his parking lot if we tell him, that he can't do that? Can he just add to his parking lot?
If they want to if they want to expand the parking lot, and it's anything more than just a very minor expansion that's not in conformity with what's approved, they have to return to you and get approval for an expansion.
So he has to come back. Okay, so.
He'd have to come back.
Yeah, Mike.
Let's approve 35 cars.
Well, I don't want to make it, they said there was 60 was a.
The lot, I know, the one they showed though, showed room for 29 plus a couple inside. They had asked for 40, they talked about 60.
Make
60
the amendment to the, what line do you
Sure.
put?
I move that we added or changed the conditional, one of the conditional uses to limit it to 35 cars.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, then the fence, we thought we had it covered, that the privacy fence, there's a tattered one, is there a beat up one there now or something?
It looks like there's a fence that's in the rear yards of the homes.
That's ours.
Right, directly behind. And so that would serve as a screen, but if they ever take those fences down, or if any of them take the fence down, then the way it's worded now, need to be a new fence put in. Obviously, the business would need to put in that fence.
So you added a fence to cover the three
Yeah, those 3 homes that are directly behind it.
3 homes, and you guys are claiming there's 4 homes behind it?
No, there's actually, there's 3 more homes that have, that are gonna be adjacent to those cars that are chain link fences.
Mine's a chain link, I don't have a 6-foot privacy fence.
So whenever we have a party in that backyard, his salespeople are gonna be right next to
Well,
it,
let's just change the condition that it covers all.
all property.
Mike, make a, no, it'll block the view of all vehicles in commercial buildings, okay?
I make a motion that we make one of the conditions a site-proof fence be established along the property line that would screen long enough that it would screen all the cars.
And building.
And the building. Robert is.
Well, just real quick, it's a really long property, and they're only using one end of it or one corner of it. If you require along the entire property line along the back,
No.
it could be maybe 1,000 feet.
No,
a fence.
I'm sorry, this would only be for the.
Around the back of the lot?
Around the lot itself.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot less.
Right.
Make the official motion and on the line. Do you know what line that is, Mike, or do you not?
No, I don't. I don't have that in front of me. You got it? Does anybody else have it handy?
I have it open, Yes, sir, I have it.
No, that's all right, ma'am.
It's right on.
Where's it?
Do you not have it on your screen, Joe?
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, okay, yeah. Go to your screen, right?
It's number 6, under section 2.
Go ahead.
6-foot tall fence will shield the view of business from
Business
rear
and
yards
cars.
of 7 to 9. The motion, I think the motion would be to change section 2, line 6, to a 6-foot tall fence shall shield the view of business from from cars from the
Adjacent property.
adjacent properties, which would cover everything, I think.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I think that's it, guys.
There was, I just want maybe a comment. They were concerned that there would be access off the residential street in there, and that would not be permitted to access the commercial property through those from that residential street, and nor has it been proposed, as I understand
It
it.
hasn't been proposed, and if they came to us with a formal site plan proposing to connect to the residential streets, it would be inconsistent with what I think you're going to be approving tonight, which is this preliminary site plan. So in order to do something like that, make a drastic change, they would need to come before you again.
Yeah, so that hasn't been approved. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, Donna.
Amended substitute bill number 4293, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 15-00009 for automobile and truck sales to Mid-Jeff Properties Incorporated and Parminder Singh. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Okay, substitute bill 4293 is passed. Move on to bill 4294.
Bill number 4294, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from AFFFW Agricultural District with floodway fringe and floodway overlay districts to I1FFFW Light Industrial District with floodway fringe and floodway overlay district as per application RZ 15-000016.
Any questions or comments on 4294? Seeing none?
An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from AFFFW Agricultural District with floodway fringe and floodway overlay districts to I1FFFW Light Industrial District with floodway fringe and floodway overlay district as per application RZ 15-000016. Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Bill 4294 is passed. Move on to bill 4295.
Bill number 4295, an ordinance placing the creation of the Guttermouth Road, Wood Glen Estates Sanitary Sewer Neighborhood Improvement District on the April 5th, 2016 ballot.
Questions or comments on 4295? Seeing none?
An ordinance placing the creation of the Guttermouth Road, Wood Glen Estates Sanitary Sewer Neighborhood Improvement District on the April 5th, 2016 ballot. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Bill 4295 is passed. Move on to bill 4296.
Bill number 4296, an ordinance amending the 2015 budget of St. Charles County, Missouri, adopted by ordinance 14-109 by transferring appropriations between budget categories in the Office of the Election Authority to fund higher than expected expenditures for election judges in the August 2015 election.
Questions or comments on 4296? Seeing none?
An ordinance amending the 2015 budget of St. Charles County, Missouri, adopted by ordinance 14-109 by transferring appropriations between budget categories in the Office of the Election Authority to fund higher than expected expenditures for election judges in the August 2015 election. Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes. Bill 4296 is passed. Move on to bill 4297.
Bill number 4297, an ordinance approving intergovernmental agreements with Missouri Secretary of State for grant awards to the St. Charles County Election Authority in the amount of $41,780 for assistance in making improvements to the election process pursuant to the Help America Vote Act, HAVA, and $83,560 for assistance in replacing voting equipment, state voting systems grant.
Questions or comments on 4297? Seeing none?
An ordinance approving intergovernmental agreements with the Missouri Secretary of State for grants awarded to the St. Charles County Election Authority in the amount of $41,780 for assistance in making improvements to the election process pursuant to the Help American Vote Act, HAVA, and $83,560 for assistance in replacing voting equipment state voting systems grant. Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Bill 4297 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4298.
Bill number 4298, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a project contract with St. Charles Community College for services provided by the Missouri Jobs Center of St. Charles County.
Any questions or comment on 4298? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a project contract with St. Charles Community College for services provided by the Missouri Jobs Center of St. Charles County. Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Bill 4298 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4299.
Bill number 4299, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute agreements for advocacy and lobbying services.
Any questions or comments on 4299? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute agreements for advocacy and lobbying services. Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Bill 4299 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4300.
Bill number 4300, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a professional service agreement between St. Charles County, Missouri and the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Missouri in conjunction with the Missouri Highway Patrol as fiscal agent and Edward L. Dowd III as an independent contractor.
Any questions or comments on 4300? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a professional service agreement between St. Charles County, Missouri and the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Missouri in conjunction with the Missouri Highway Patrol as fiscal agent and Edward L. Dowd III as an independent contractor. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Bill 4300 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4301.
Bill number 4301, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute the influenza immunization through school clinics project intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, Bureau of Immunizations, and St. Charles County Department of Community Health and the Environment related to a grant award of up to $18,750 for reimbursement of expenditures relating to immunizing pre-kindergarten through 12th grade students in school-located influenza vaccination clinics.
Any questions or comments on Bill 4301? Seeing none?
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute the influenza immunization through school clinics project intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, Bureau of Immunizations, and the St. Charles County Department of Community Health and the Environment related to a grant award of up to $18,750 for reimbursement of expenditures relating to immunizing pre-kindergarten through 12th grade students in school-located influenza vaccination clinics. Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Bill 4301 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4302.
Bill number 4302, an ordinance approving execution of two form intergovernmental agreements with municipalities to provide kenneling services or kenneling services and enforcement.
Questions or comments on 4302? Seeing none? Oh, is there any questions on this one? No? This is not the substitute, right?
That's
No.
next.
Okay, go ahead.
An ordinance approving execution of two form intergovernmental agreements with municipalities to provide kenneling services or kenneling services and enforcement. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Bill 4302 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4303.
Bill number 4303, an ordinance amending Chapter 205 Ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, Animal Regulations.
Any questions or comments on 4303?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to amend Bill 4303 and replace it with substitute Bill 4303.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Substitute Bill 4303 has been accepted. You going to go over the changes, Michael?
I have an amendment to go to the substitute bill. as if
Okay.
the substitute bill wasn't enough.
Okay, on the substitute bill, though, this is just some of the snake stuff, right? Is this you, Drew, or Holly?
Adding a prohibition on snakes in residentially zoned areas other than single-family residentially zoned areas. It's also removing one section of the request for Scott.
What is it now, one?
There's one section of fees, he had concerns about, basically the costs that were associated when there'd be, chickens or poultry or exotic animals, if there were less leaves. There was a $25 fee, more than 10, it was a $50 fee. He had concerns that that wouldn't cover the costs that actually were covered.
And it's in a multifamily dwelling, you cannot have more than 4 snakes, correct? Did we put do you know if we did Joanne or Greg, did we put a length on them, or did we not do that?
Just the number.
Okay.
We did, there is a state statute that addresses that.
Wasn't it 8 feet? Or-
It requires that if you're going to have a snake of 8 feet in length or longer, that you need to register that with local law enforcement.
Do we leave allowances if they have babies, that they have a certain amount of time to get rid of them?
So we don't have that. If you
We
could have
do
a
not.
You could have a 20-foot snake. Just so you guys know, you could have a 20-foot python in an apartment building. That's just,
The state statute.
That would take care of the cat problem.
But the state statute.
no, say that again about the state.
The state statute forbids having or keeping a snake of 8 feet in length or longer unless that snake's registered with local law enforcement.
But we don't follow that, do we, Joanne? Do we follow that? Because that
They
guy down
don't have
there.
a single registration at law enforcement. I did inquire after you told me about the state statute.
We have checked for serial number, sir. We do not.
All right. All right, go ahead, Michael. That's it for me, Drew. Any questions for Drew?
I'd like to make a motion that we amend section 205.082 as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to own, possesses, harbor, or keep a rooster in a residentially zoned parcel of land less than 5 acres in size. This is to reflect the change of, it currently says residentially zoned area, replacing area with parcel of land less than 5 acres in size. That means if you have a rooster, you can have a rooster as long as you live on 5 acres of land or more.
There could be a problem with that, though.
Yeah, I'll second that, but I do have a question. What
Can we
does that
sec-
do for, let's take care of that first.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or conversation?
What does that do to existing roosters? I mean, are roosters grandfathered or not?
If you like your rooster, you can keep your rooster.
Yeah.
Don't believe that lie.
What about the existing ones? You know, because
Yeah. The prohibition would go into effect on passage, so there's no provision in there that would grandfather in existing roosters.
I mean, I'm getting back to the gentleman that came and complained about the loud rooster that's already out there.
So that rooster will be evicted, right?
It'll be evicted. Will it be cooked?
The rooster will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah.
Mr. Cronin?
I understand Mike's reasoning on the amendment, but one thing I would tell you, that this could cause a problem in that we do have some 5-acre subdivisions out in rural areas of the county that are more like subdivisions than they are farms. When some of those lots happen to be pretty narrow, where there might only be 100 foot between the houses, even though the guy's got 5 acres that goes back that way. So just bear in mind that we may get a complaint out of those subdivisions for roosters.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, with Michael, is that's a Cottleville situation, and most, the 5 acres is gonna be agriculture, and they're exempt.
Not if it's in the subdivision, like for instance, in my area, there's some subdivisions that are 5-acre subdivisions by county standards. However, most of the people in my area know how to take care of those rooster problems, and it's called cooking oil and cornmeal, okay? But whatever that's, for whatever it is, I just wanted to throw that out there. Other than that, I'll support it, that's fine.
I guess it depends on whose fence the rooster's standing on, right?
Okay, that's it. Go ahead, Donna, Carol.
Amended substitute bill number 4303, an ordinance amending chapter 205 ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, animal regulations. Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Thank you.
Substitute Bill, thank you, Drew. Substitute Bill 4303 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4304.
Bill number 4304, an ordinance amending sections 115.160, 115.460, 115.670, 115.710, 115.720 through 115.722, and 115.740 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, all concerning the Personnel Administration Plan, including but not limited to benefits.
Any questions or comments on 4304?
I'd move that we amend Bill 4304 and replace it with substitute Bill 4304.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Substitute bill has been accepted. Any other questions? Any questions on substitute bill? Carol?
Substitute Bill number 4304, an ordinance amending sections 115.160, 115.460, 115.670, 115.710, 115.720 through 115.722, and 115.740 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, all concerning the Personnel Administration Plan, including but not limited to benefits. Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Bill 4304 is passed. Moving on to Bill 4305.
Bill number 4305, an ordinance repealing the current Chapter 127 in its entirety, enacting a new Chapter 127, and amending Chapters 128, 131, and 134, ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO.
Any questions or comments on 4305? Seeing none?
An ordinance repealing the current Chapter 127 in its entirety, enacting a new Chapter 127, and amending Chapters 128, 131, and 134, ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO. Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Bill 4305 is passed. That moves us on to miscellaneous and acknowledgements. Anybody have any comments or anything?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year,
Happy
yeah.
holidays.
Motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you for your patience.